Hi, it's Lee and welcome to the Tesla Economist. Although given how the start of the year looked, I think Tesla's demand is holding quite well at this stage with the current prices, and fears of further price drops seem to have dwindled. Although we did literally see some discounts in Tesla's inventory, which is kind of like a price drop. But other people are saying it's to clear inventory for hardware for, so who knows? That's part of the problem with Tesla, as there's always so many moving parts, it's hard to ever know what's really going on. Which is why you're supposed to just have faith in the leader, believe the process, and hold your stock until 2030, which would be ample time for some of these sticks in the fire to finally blow up and add trillions to the valuation. In the meantime, you're not to complain and just trust it will happen, even if you were told years ago that they will happen. Well, years ago. The stock bubbled when demand was artificially high due to supply chain issues, as Tesla managed to navigate around due to their proactive nature and highly talented engineers, and were thus able to increase demand by staggering amounts, whilst legacy supply was dropping. But remember, when you only produce under 1 million units, ramping up a few 100,000 extra is a large percentage gain, whilst relatively low number of units for legacy. It becomes much harder when you get larger. In fact, despite I say demand is holding reasonably well now compared to where people were speculating it could end up with more price drops, I still expected demand to be a lot higher than where it is today, even in this economic environment, compared to where it was at its peak. It felt like EVs were going to be the future, and Tesla was the only one who could deliver to any reasonable quantity, let alone also profitable. I thought the tax credit would have had more impact. Seriously, there are Model 3s for around mid-$20,000 in some states. Why does not everyone in those states buy a Model 3? What are we missing as investors? Perhaps Tesla really just needs to start advertising to inform the world how lower cost these vehicles really are. I consider myself a car enthusiast, and it's half the reason I ended up invested in Tesla. It seemed like a better version of a car. It looked better on paper, in every way. And having bought 2 Teslas, it only further validated all those theories. I know fanboys are against advertising, or at least were before Elon actually said he would entertain it. It's against the ethos of Tesla to advertise. People should just know how good they are, because so many Tesla owners are selling them to everyone they know. Or perhaps that was the first level of Tesla owners, the real avid enthusiast, who was so passionate about the company, vision, car, and driving experience that they told everyone they knew. But some Tesla owners these days aren't quite like that, going around telling everyone all the amazing things they can do. They treat it more like just another car. Or perhaps it was because Tesla cancelled the referral program, of which they've now reintroduced, but doesn't seem to be the make or break for demand now. I love my Tesla so much, it's an incredible driving experience. But driving was always important to me. I loved my BMWs and Mercedes in the past too. Not as much as my Tesla, but my point is some people are happy enough in a Toyota and perhaps derive minimal additional pleasure from a nicer car. Although Tesla is now similar cost of ownership to a Toyota, and with all the added benefits like safety. On the other hand, there's still plenty of people buying BMWs too. Anyway, at some stage I went from being a Tesla investor and turned into a fanboy, and was swept off my feet by the potential of the future that there could actually be. A decentralized energy and transport industry that was clean. It all looked like it was going to happen. The future was set in motion, and we just needed to get a few costs down and increase production of battery cells with new revolutionary techniques at scale. And we were shown how that was even possible, and that Tesla were indeed working on that. However, we're still waiting, and the production for the entire year is going to be very similar to where it was at the end of last year. No major production ramps coming this year, no 50% year-over-year growth, and none in sight, unless Tesla makes some breakthroughs with the 4680 cells this year. At least until Panasonic starts applying their 4680s halfway through next year, and forget the 100 gigawatt hour a year capacities that Tesla were targeting. Tesla bubbled on the EV potential, which was skewed through COVID and other various events, and it looks like Tesla could bubble again, at least in my opinion, as like I said, there's very little growth in production this year. Well, that would translate into the financials too. Tesla could be back at a 3-figure PE ratio again, which would generate a valuation that's going to be hard to see with future financials. Cybertruck will run at a loss until at best halfway through next year. There's hope for energy, and seeing how much that ramps this quarter will be very telling of how the rest of the year may go. In fact, when it comes to energy, I think the biggest hope is the new CATL factory across the road from Giga Shanghai. No one ever even mentions that. Really, the investing fanboys are too focused on Cybertruck specs, rather than the actual roots of growth for this company. I'll say this again, CATL have built a new cell factory next door to Giga Shanghai that has a capacity of at least 80 gigawatt hours a year. If Tesla consumed all those cells and profited $150 per kilowatt hour, then that is $12 billion additional gross profit, likely more than the Cybertruck will ever produce. Now, I was saying there are minimal signs of increase in production, but if we're going to see some growth, it's likely due to these cells from this new factory. Although they might be earmarked for energy, as Tesla also needs car factories to increase the growth, and Elon said they won't sell standard range LFP Model Ys, so likely not going to go to Texas. And if they did, then it would increase supply for the Model Y by about double in the US, which would likely mean they have to reduce prices to meet demand and lose too much margin. Okay, my actual theory or hope is that these new cells are CATL's new M3P cells with structural packs, and they'll be used in the Model 3 Highland, possibly even in the new Model 3 long range we've seen added to Tesla's US website, which we know is using cells from China. We just don't know what cells. If it's using 2170 cells, then Tesla have really done an outstanding job getting that much range without a nickel-based cell, and has broken new industry records. And we would think that Tesla want to earmark as many 2170 cells for Berlin and Texas to help ramp those factories. Tesla's supply and demand has plateaued for the Model 3. They aren't making any more Model 3 factories, and prices are so low in the US already and other markets, it's exceedingly good value, yet still leaving enough margin for some okay profits. The Highland update will of course increase demand to what level we don't know, but if I see them driving around, I'm pretty sure they'll look really cool. But I'm an avid Tesla enthusiast. Including the new specs and likely the lower costs, it should be enough of an update to keep demand for the model going, at least through the current economic climate. Perhaps the update is what Tesla is waiting for before they start advertising too. I was on a Twitter Spaces a while back and asked how much Tesla should spend on advertising. I said probably around $250 million for the rest of the year. Everyone else was thinking tens of millions. I'm not sure they've studied the financials as well as me. $250 million doesn't feel like that much. Tesla probably want to sell almost another 1 million vehicles for the rest of the year, so that would average at around $250 per vehicle or so. These other people are talking about $20 or so per vehicle. If you're going to do it, then do it right. And $250 per vehicle seems very little compared to some of the recent price drops. I also went on to say that they should eventually be spending probably a couple of $1 billion in advertising when they have Mexico ramped, and are probably closer to about 5 million units a year. Remember, Tesla isn't just a car company, right? They don't just need to advertise the price of the vehicles, but also the software capabilities, i.e. FSD. There are still tons of people out there unaware of how well a Tesla drive itself. If Tesla sell 5 million units a year, spend $2 billion a year on advertising, and can convince 7% of them to upgrade to FSD, then that covers all the advertising expense, let alone all the additional sales Tesla would make. Also, if we have 5 million sales a year, averaging $10,000 gross margin, if we have 5 million sales a year, averaging $10,000 gross profit, then that's already $50 billion in gross profit. $2 billion doesn't seem that big in comparison, or $400 per vehicle. But remember, it's a double sell, selling the hardware, i.e. the car, and the software, the FSD. And think about how much better FSD is going to be by then. I mean, I'm talking probably 3 years away. It probably is worth letting everyone know, especially when it has 100% gross profit margin and sells for $15,000, or possibly even more then. Anyway, as a Tesla owner, I think there's still a lot more potential for the demand to still come, not just as an EV, but as an autonomous vehicle too. Hi there, I'm using Verbalate AI video translation and lip sync software. It's pretty amazing. Watch this.
I can translate my videos into other languages. For example, I am now speaking Hindi. नमस्ते, मैं पहली बार हिंदी में बोल रहा हूँ, लेकिन Verbalate इसे इतना आसान बना देता है. Or how about Spanish? Hola, vaya, increíble. También puedo hablar español.
Sign up at verbalate.ai today to gain early access to trial the product for creators and strategic partners, and gain the ability to translate and lip sync videos in all major languages. You can view the info in the description below.